everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of Lesbian Talk.
Lesbian Talk. Lesbian Talk is with Gomer.
Well, we could be from the island of Thespos.
There's no such place.
There really should be.
There should be, that's true.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have one frisky and wild furry pussy on my lap right now.
I have no pussies. I haven't seen my cat in months.
I'm sorry, I've got both the cats. It's unfair.
Make them make a noise. Like you always would say with kippers.
Well, he's purring.
Aww. You hear that, audience? What other podcast gives you cat purrs, I ask you? So how have you been this week?
Oh, it's been a up, down, diagonal, sideways, explosion, up, down type week.
Explosion? Well, you are in Derry, I guess, so.
Oh, yeah. It's a fascinating place.
Full of holes. I mean shrapnel. I mean what?
You mean not being an absolutely terrible place. It's not the worst place in the world. I'll give it that.
Yeah, there's this one place where you can get fish and chips and an ice cream sundae, so there's that.
At once, yeah, if you're on teenies.
But I've been finalizing my college stuff, which is a real pain in the ass because I feel like pretty much once every few days I have to email a whole bunch of people and say, I'm an American. How do I do this?
And they're all like, oh, Americans.
Well, because if you guys didn't know, in the UK, you apply through one central government website.
Mm-hmm.
And like they clearly lay out everything that you can apply for at every college. And, you know, you put all your grades and everything like that. Everyone writes the same college essay. You get a referral. And then you pay the application fee, and that's that. Well, in America, I don't know if you knew this, honey, but, like, you apply to as many colleges as you want, but, like, all differently. So you could end up paying a lot of application fees and a lot of money in sending transcripts out if you have a lot of colleges you're applying to.
Well, over here, yeah, UCAS you can apply to. In my day, I think it was you could apply to 3 universities, but it might have gone up.
It says 5. At least when I did it. No, I haven't finished yet because I'm still waiting on my referee because she has a newborn, so I'm giving her a few days.
When I went to university, I applied to 2 of them. Both of them I got to the interview stage. The first one was all like, I did the interview and they were like, no, we don't want you. The second one was I got to the interview stage and it's like, actually, this isn't a real interview. We're just showing you off everything, you know, because we're so awesome. But if you want in, you can come in.
See, I'm not sure I hope they don't want to do an interview because I already went and spoke with the course director and all the administrative people, and I really don't want to have to, you know, pay for another plane ticket.
Well, given that you're an international student from so far away, I think it's quite possible that they won't want you to do an interview, or they may even want to do something like over Skype or whatever. I
can manage that. I mean, like I said, I talked with the course head, and he was a really interesting guy, and he told me a lot of stuff that made me really excited about the course. So.
But if they do make you come over, then at the very least you got to hang out with me for a little bit.
That's true.
So, you know, there's benefits to both.
In the wrong time zone.
In Greenwich Mean Time.
I don't know how I'm going to adapt because, like, every time I come over to visit you, and I feel like I'm somehow special because I'm in the future. I can't imagine living my life 5 hours before everybody I know.
Well, here's a little secret, honey.
America isn't the center of the world.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah, it's true.
And eventually you'll know more people that you talk to on a regular basis over here than you do in America. I mean, you'll know more people in America because you spent so long there, but you'll not talk to them quite as much as you talk to people over here.
That's true. It just, Twitter's always awkward first thing in the morning over at yours because it's like basically the people who are up all night, so like, you know, Ven and Nash and like Lord Comet and everybody, and then like the few UK people like Filmbrain and Susie and Liam. But
one of the issues that'll be a bit difficult for you will be Radio Dead Air will be a lot less convenient.
I know. I'm gonna have to. I hope I'm not gonna have any early morning Tuesday classes because I don't know how I'm gonna manage this.
We might have to set something like can you stream record?
Well, he records the What the Fuck Is Wrong With You, the live news, but I don't know if I can set it to record the whole entire... I can't TiVo Nash.
You should be able to.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, maybe I can set it up so I don't have any classes on Tuesday or something, so I can sleep in.
That would be very useful, although Nash is still going at like 6 a.m, our time, honey.
Well, he goes until 2, so it's 7 a.m. Yeah, but I mean, even now, when I'm, I have to get up in the morning for work, I usually, will go till 12:30. I at least stay till after the news.
I mean, like, last night I was up till 5, and I was up again at 11, so I'm feeling pretty wrecked. But that's usual for me. I'm constantly tired because I'm trying to live my life as much in your time zone as possible, because then I get to spend more time with you.
It's Shakespearean, almost.
It's a great tragedy.
Well, but anyway, speaking of not tragedy...
We have to think about endowing.
Yes, our word from last week was endow. To endow with special powers, or to endow with some money, or...
To endow with penis.
Yes. Your manly endowment, as it were.
I got nothing. I know absolutely nothing about films that involve penises.
Oh, she said.
Yeah, I'm completely naive.
Well, there's, what's his face? That mayor up in Canada, who was basically all but taken out his own endowment and shook it in everyone's face.
Oh, I loved his interview. He was doing a press conference, and apparently someone suggested he had an affair with this woman, and his reply was, this is not a direct quote, this is just me, I saw the thing about 8 hours ago, so it was like, why the hell would I go and eat her pussy? That's right, let me do that in a worse American accent. No.
He's not an American, he's a Canadian.
I know, but, look. Why the hell would I go and eat her pussy? I got married. I got all I want to eat at home.
That's awful.
It was hilarious. And
he's just like this big fat horrible guy who's like, "Yep, I smoked crack, but I was too drunk to remember." Like this, I mean, it's like all the stuff that you'll have a celebrity that just melts down on Twitter and just says all this shit they're actually thinking, But this is like this guy has come so far out the other end. I'm like, is he trolling? Is this like some kind of big sociology experiment? What's going on? And they can't get rid of him. The city council voted to get rid of him, and he must step down, but he's not bound by their decision. So it's basically, everybody's called him out for being wrong. He's like, yeah, so what? I apologized. You have to step down. No, I'm the boss. I'm always in charge. And it's just hilarious at this point.
I kind of want a movie about him.
Well, apparently, I read on Reddit that he's getting a TV show, although I don't know how true that is.
That it was almost worth it, to get a reality TV. It's almost worth it to become to go over to take the effort to become mayor of a big city and then go completely fucking insane and then ruin your reputation just to get a reality show, isn't it?
I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on. Is he trying to pull an Andy Kaufman? I mean, is he trolling? Is he serious? Is he crazy? What's going on?
I did see one tweet which was, thanking the man for demonstrating that the hypothesis that Andy Kaufman faked his own death was indeed true.
Well, there was some buzz about that this week, but I didn't read the article because I don't think it's true. I believe he really did die.
Oh yeah, it's completely bullshit that if he did that, but it was rather funny, sort of. As if to say this guy can't possibly be real.
It's just,
how did he become mayor?
I don't know. And okay, so getting drunk at a party, it happens. All right, we've all been there. We've all been at that party where I gotta go to work tomorrow, so I'll just have one or two. But then it's 4 a.m. and you can't see straight. We've all been there. Okay. So you're at a party and someone passes a joint around or passes a pipe around. Okay, I can see that. But what kind of parties do you go to as a dignitary, as an official person, where they're passing the crack pipe around? Surely it should be cocaine at least. Well,
you did say that, someone passed the pipe around. Obviously, he did not find out it was a crack pipe until too late. He just thought it was marijuana.
But I've never smoked crack, but I imagine that there's a huge difference between crack and everything else.
Yeah, but if you're so drunk you can't tell.
That's pretty drunk.
Yeah, but this guy looks like he drinks a lot. This guy's he's like Chris Christie gone completely fucking insane.
Crossed with Boris Yeltsin.
No, Boris Johnson.
Well, no, but Boris Yeltsin was an alcoholic, so.
Oh, he was. But Boris Johnson is the UK's joke mayor.
Yeah, but we can add more than one bad politician into this mix. It's not exclusionary.
Well, it's true, we can, but what you're suggesting is that we have more than one Boris in the mix, and that's just too much.
Boris Squared.
Yeah,
that would be a great name for a band, like a Russian punk band, Boris Squared. If that's your band, write the show.
I agree, that would be a very good name for a band.
It's just it's so crazy. And a lot of people have been saying this is the first time that Americans have ever paid attention to Canadian politics.
It's the only time Americans have looked down on Canadian elected officials.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's the only time Americans have been able to look down on Canadian elected officials and have a point.
Yeah, I mean, our elected officials are, always in the news for saying and doing horrible, horrendous things. So, but I guess then that's like that everywhere,
Oh yeah, there's crazy people everywhere.
Except in the Netherlands where everyone behaves themselves, so their scandals are more like, he stole an extra meatball when he was at IKEA. That was supposed to be a Swedish accent, by the way, but it wasn't.
And it's one of the benefits of the way that the British form of government was until fairly recently, that you can have an election at any time. So anyone, if that guy did anything, then you could theoretically get rid of the government because of it.
Wow.
You can dissolve the government. It wasn't done very often, and it would be more likely the guy to be thrown out of his office. Like, we don't have term limits on elected officials.
Yeah, I think that's weird.
It's like, once you're elected in to be prime minister, if you start smoking crack and being completely fucking insane, you can't hold on to power automatically for the next 4 or 5 years. If the rest of your party don't like you, they can basically throw you out of your job and have your replacement automatically be prime minister for the rest of your term.
In America, you can have a special election that does something like that, and obviously the president can be impeached, and but it's just so weird to me. Basically, the whole entire city council is like, you need to go, you need some therapy or some help, you just got to do something. He was like, nope, not gonna do it. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. And it just
in the UK he would have been gone most likely. Maybe it's different in local elections. I don't know much about local politics of the UK, which is weird considering I do know a councillor who does local politics in the UK.
Yeah, but that's in England, right? That's not in Northern Ireland.
That's true. We got very similar sort of.
Well, I'm never
laws.
sure because sometimes I will try to apply English stuff to Northern Ireland because you're both the UK, and you're like, no, we don't do that way. That's England. I'm like, oh well.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of areas there are differences, but I think the way that we do the elections, I think they're done pretty much the same way in both. But I do know that Northern Ireland's elections are very, very, very strongly sort of controlled and looked after because of...
You guys get up to no good.
Well, yeah, until the 1960s, sorry, actually later than the 1960s, Catholics didn't have equal rights in Northern Ireland.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They were completely fucked over electorally. So Northern Ireland, as part of the peace process, legally you've got to have a lot of people sort of watching to make sure everything's above board. But considering Northern Ireland, most areas in Northern Ireland are either going to go to the Catholic, the nationalist or the unionist politician, and without much change.
There's
in that way.
One guy in the Green Party entirely in Northern Ireland, just all by himself.
Well, the third party in Northern Ireland is called the Alliance Party, and its basic selling point is that we're with neither side, and we believe in peace.
No offense, but that sounds like the Captain Planet of political parties.
It is a bit.
Heart. Sorry.
But,
oh dear.
But now, our first subject of the day.
Well, that actually is if you hadn't said that, it would have been a perfect segue. Because it could be like, so you live in Derry, who came there last night? Wah.
Oh, you had a much better segue. Okay, do you want to rewind and then do that again?
Okay.
But, no, sorry, I meant that as a joke in episode, honey.
Yeah, I know. I know you meant that. Because you used the voice, So, who came to Derry last night, dear?
Me.
You were there already. And don't say Linkara or Patrick Troughton's hair or something like that.
There was Patrick Troughton's wig last time, which, in case any Doctor Who fans were annoyed at me saying that Patrick Troughton didn't wear a wig, only William Hartnell, Paul McGann, and Matt Smith are the Doctors wore wigs, and I'm like, Patrick Troughton wore a wig for a couple of stories at the start of season 4 because his hair hadn't reached the right length yet.
I see.
But Mark Steele came to Derry.
Mark Steele?
And
see, how come that was a really good fanfare this time, and last time it was like...
Because Mark Steele's really impressive.
Okay.
And I had the great honor, as a dignitary from Afghanistan, to go to see him. And it wasn't at all because I saw him tweet out about how he's going to Derry, and I went immediately to the thing and I booked tickets. Not at all.
Of course not.
But Mark Steele is a comedian from England. He's not actually from London, but he's pretty much from London. He's like a history lecturer crossed with a stand-up comic, and he's obsessed with history, and that's his area. And what the show he does right now is In Town, where he goes to a small town / smaller city in the UK and does a little comedic bio of the town for the radio in the town, and then tries to avoid the eggs getting thrown at him. In Northern Ireland, the eggs are on fire. And
Molotov eggs.
Yes.
God, the Easter Bunny is probably a paramilitary, a balaclava and a machine gun. Anyway.
So yesterday he was doing his first one in Northern Ireland, and he was indeed in Derry / Londonderry / Legendary / Cooterville. And I got to see it, and it was a lot of fun. But you explain who Mark Steele is, because I have done so.
Well, he's a socialist, and I believe, which is kind of cool, because it's not in America, that's something you could be shot for Christ's sake, but in England, that's, pretty much, I'm a socialist. That's all right. And I was introduced to him by you, who, because he has a lot of his MP3s downloadable for free on his website, which is really awesome of him. And he does lectures. He did a series of lectures on just interesting people with passion. He has a series that I really like, but you don't, called the Mark Steele Solution, where he proposes a solution to one of society's ills, which I think is quite clever.
An unorthodox solution, such as, let's get rid of religious strife by making everyone's religion be chosen by national lottery, that sort of thing.
No. That was everyone should change religions once a month.
That was it.
Or everybody should be gay for 2 years. Or, you should decide of houses by national lottery. Or we should fire the royals, and everyone would have a chance. They would change once every week, and you could be randomly pulled to be queen or something like that. I just think it's brilliant. I like that kind of outside the box thing.
Well, personally, I prefer his more reality based stuff, but it's a fine show, and I'm glad that you enjoy it. But he does the biographies of people. He did a television adaptation. He does the radio stuff. He also did a show on revolutions, although he did stretch the definition of revolution a little bit when he included the theory of evolution in there.
No, but remember, because he said people are going to call me on that, but, a revolution is more than just a war. It's actually something that brings about a profound change in society. And I think that the theory of evolution does count, in the same way that the American Civil War does count.
Yeah, I just felt he was stretching it a bit. It was okay, I only got 4 episodes on proper revolutions. Let's put that one in there, and here's an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I liked it because up until, his lectures and the one about the French Revolution, I didn't really think the French Revolution was very important. Because basically the way that we studied it in school was they tell us, so after the important revolution, the War of American Independence, which apparently you guys don't call it the American Revolution.
There's several names we can call it. But I think that the French Revolution, even if it's not too important overall, I'm not saying it's not, but even if it wasn't, it would be fairly important for the people who lost their heads.
Well, yeah, but the way that it was pitched to us was...
They lost their heads over it.
I saw what you did there. No, but the way that it was pitched to us was, we had this glorious revolution, and we got France to pay for it, and they were so wonderfully inspired by what we've done that they decided to overthrow their king and everything, and some people got guillotined at the end. But it wasn't ever pitched as something that had importance for all of Europe. It had wide-reaching effects for all of Europe, which it obviously did, but we never covered that part because we're American and we didn't care.
May I make a guess?
What?
That your covering of it did not cover the fact that the French Revolution was only made possible because France was bankrupted because they gave the American revolutionaries a lot of money.
Yep.
And then after the French Revolution, the American government refused to pay back the new revolutionary French government the money that was lent to the king because that was given to the monarchy of France and not the Republic of France.
Mm-hmm. I learned that again from Mark Steele. Well, I'm sure we've talked about American history as it is taught on the show before, and it's basically what people think is important, not what is actually important. For example, the Great War.
It's very, I really don't, it's very Americano-centric.
It is, but even that, a lot of times they will focus on social history to the exclusion of more important, not more important, but equally important history, like, for example, Prohibition. Okay, it's interesting. The Harlem Renaissance. Okay, interesting,
I did not know what the Harlem...
Don't discount the goddamn First World War. It was the Great War, the war to end all wars. But we just kind of brush over it. And we fought in the Great War.
It didn't do that job very well. Of ending the war. But the Harlem Renaissance, I did not know what that was until about 18 months ago.
When I explained it? When you Googled it?
Either you explained it, or it was brought up by Rap Critic. And I can't remember. I was either talking to you or Rap Critic, and I honestly can't remember who. And I had no idea what whoever it was talking about, because honestly, it wasn't that big a deal outside of America.
Well, I mean, it was a it was cultural history, which is again very, very, very valuable. But I think it should be, things like that should be given equal standing with, major world wars that our country happens to be involved in. I mean, it's like in World War II, we focused on two things: the Holocaust, again, a very, very, very important thing to cover, and the atom bomb. But there was a whole rest of the war inside of there. I
watched a movie about the atom bomb yesterday while I was editing.
Was it a documentary?
No, it was a bio of just the attempts to build the atom bomb, and it featured Dwight Schultz, aka Murdoch from A-Team, as Oppenheimer. Which is really weird, whenever you realize that Dwight Schultz is an outspoken Hollywood conservative and Oppenheimer was a communist.
Shh.
Okay, and John Cusack played the guy who, in Twisted But True, who got himself dosed with radiation and died.
Oh yeah, that was, I had no idea about that. That was pretty squirrely. Like, how could you even do that? Like, oh my god.
Based on the Twisted But True thing, it does sound like he was a bit of a cocky idiot. While in the film I watched is called Fat Man and Little Boy, that was, he was treated a lot more sympathetically.
See, this is why I like people like Mark Steele, because I like history. It's very interesting to me. I like the human aspect of history. I like to think, what would I have done, if I was there? But it's just so much they gloss over stuff like that in schools. Mark Steele should be taught in schools.
It would be a very good, if you're going to introduce a subject, the subject to kids, it would be a good way to get stuff over in an orthodox way. Whenever I was in secondary school, which is the equivalent of high school, we did a lot about First World War, and one of the things that they would do for the First World War was they showed us an episode of the British comedy show Blackadder Goes Forth, which was set in the trenches. It was a comedy series set in the trenches, and the final episode, the entire cast is sent over the top, and they die, and then it cuts to then it you see there's a freeze frame of them going over the top and being shot at, and then it cuts to a field of poppies.
God, that's depressing.
Yeah, and this is the end of a sitcom, and they showed us that in class, and I think that's the brilliant juxtaposition of pointless, horrible shit with comedy, and it demonstrated to me that you can make comedy about anything. You fucking well can, because the whole setup of the show was, you had a bunch of characters put into a horrible situation by a bunch of complete bastards, and every single week they were trying to get out of going over the top. And then most weeks, they except for last week, they succeeded in some way, and they didn't have to go over. And then the last episode, there is no escape. Although with Blackadder, it was a tradition every single season at the end of the last episode, almost the entire cast would die. But usually it was handled very, very comedically, but this one, they deliberately connected it with real-life horrible events, and they treated it with respect.
Well, wasn't the Great War the start of, the nihilist and absurdist movements in art and literature? Because it's basically, an entire generation of Europe was gone, and it was a warfare and horror upon which no country had gazed since the history of ever. I mean, I'm pretty sure, if anyone knows, write the show, if you're an art history or lit major. But I think that's where that came from. Because you had, that poet E. Cummings, who I always disliked in school because he couldn't fucking capitalize, and he'd be like, a poem and it's all like parentheses and typographical symbols. I'm like, that's not poetry. That's just cheating. My teacher was like, well, he was in the war and he got shell-shocked. I'm like, that's no excuse. Everyone has to capitalize. But apparently that was a thing because it was like a part of the absurdist movement. I think that we should ask somebody smarter than us, but.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know anything about that area though, so I'm not going to pretend I do. But yeah, Steele, if you like history, check it out. He did biographies of some on television, mostly on radio, of Aristotle, Napoleon, Robert Burns, W.G. Grace, Billie Holiday, Albert Einstein, Cromwell, Leonardo da Vinci,
Charlie Chaplin, who I had no idea was British until I heard Mark Steele's lecture.
You didn't even realize that he was chucked out of America?
No. It happened before I was born, honey.
A little. He died before you were born.
Yeah, but he was chucked out before I was born.
You know why? I watched the biopic of him recently, starring Robert Downey Jr., and it was very well done. You had Geraldine Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin's youngest daughter, playing Charlie Chaplin's mother.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah, his mother, who was put into an insane asylum from when he was very young. It's not always a happy story.
No, but I mean he handles it, you know, like I said, even the tragedy, like what's her face?
Billie Holiday?
Yes, thank you. I mean, her story is, sometimes when it comes up on my iPod in the car, I'll skip it because her story is just so very tragic. But, you know, he makes it interesting, you know?
Yeah, and his show in town is very, very fluffy. It's
fun. It's like, you know, all the stuff that, like, you know as from growing up in your town. Well, it's like that, but to the nth power, because in England, apparently, no one leaves their village ever.
Yeah, English counties are like American states, not in the way that they've got different laws, but because they have got little cultural things and they tend to dislike other ones, and there's little rivalries and stuff. You can roughly take the relationship that different American states have and put it to English counties, and so therefore you can put English towns to American cities. And because although there's not as many people as the American cities, they've had enough time to build on little traditions and weird things, and so they have a lot of crazy character. While Derry is one of the larger places he's done one of these for. And it's less of look at all the weird people just doing stuff. It's, instead he spent a lot of time talking about the Troubles, and you could tell at times he was nervous about the jokes.
Well, I mean, you guys have a shit ton of history. I mean, even before the Troubles, like, you know, we went to a coffee house just to get some coffee. I needed some coffee and to get a bun and sit and have a rest. But, you know, this little teeny coffee house with its own Wi-Fi and stuff like that was right next to these, 700-year-old walls?
Yeah. Well, no, the walls are 400 years old. They were created 1600-ish.
Oh. Something 700 years old, but I forget.
There's been a town on the location of Derry for several thousand years. I'm not exactly sure the exact number, but it's one of the oldest continuously populated places in the entire of Ireland.
And a lot of places have free Wi-Fi, which makes it a bit better.
But the current city of Derry it goes back from 1600, when the old town was basically raised and rebuilt as a planned city and everything, and the walls are the remains from that. I think there's a couple of building parts which are left apart from the walls, and there's the museum we went to, the Tower Museum. It's not an actual old tower, although it looks like one. It was a replica of the tower that existed, but it was destroyed in 1600, I believe, during the destruction of the old city.
And there's not a lift either, apparently. Oh, I know, that was the place that did have the lift. It was the Camera Obscura that didn't have the lift.
Yeah, because that was the oldest purpose-built tourist attraction in Scotland.
Arr. So anyway, Mark Steele is really awesome, and you can find a lot of his MP3s for free download on his website, which I think is like Mark Steele Info or something. Something
like that. And but just look up Mark Steele. But also you can look him up on YouTube. Some clever guy has taken a bunch of his TV adaptions of his lectures, and they put them on YouTube. And it's fascinating stuff if you like history, or even if you like, decent, intelligent stand-up comedy. He was also in an episode of QI.
Yes, but who hasn't been on QI?
I haven't. Although
Well,
I did watch it being recorded live once.
You were not famous.
Aww.
But I love you. Well, yeah, so totally look him up. But do you know what time it is?
Time for cola bottles.
Well, yeah, I still have some left because I've been eating them. You guys, at Poundland, what you can get gummy cola bottles. But not just any. Like, the ones we'll get here? These ones are huge. They're like double the size, and that makes them double the best, so.
Yeah, and this is Poundland, a British shop, because in the UK there is no stigma attached to pound shops, unlike dollar stores.
Yeah, like, how if you go to the dollar store, there's, like, shit there, or, like, things that expired years ago? It's not like that. Apparently there's reputable things you can buy.
Yeah, everything you buy in the shop, in the pound store, is... Almost everything is going to be reputable stuff. It's going to be name brand stuff. It's just really cheap. Possibly because it was bought in bulk. I don't know.
Well, but Poundland aside, we have a new artist this week.
Mm-hmm.
And who would that artist be?
Furnius. At least one of the guys from Furnius is also from the Vaults of Toth, who is the band who did the cover of Lecture Bitch that is currently being used in my special reviews. And they were kind enough to give this song from their album Winter. So if you don't like black metal, I'd suggest fast-forwarding about 5 minutes.
So, Furnius, everyone.
So if it's 7 minutes long and you do that and then you suddenly get a full dose of then haha, sorry.
Spoilers. I will see you on the other side.
That was a song in 3 movements, Fornius, with Rar Skulls from their album Winter.
It's actually not called Rar Skulls.
Yeah, it's not. I hope you have the name of it sort of listed so everyone can, get their black metal fix.
Yeah, it's called Embrace the Covenant.
Okay, well, you're putting it on the actual podcast. That's good. I like black metal, and I do not care. Who cares? And if you don't like black metal, then I fear that you might be racist against various types of metal.
Do you like big black metal and you cannot lie?
Yes! I'd love to hear a black metal cover version of that song. That would be amazing.
See, I realized that there is some metal that I like. I like that guy on YouTube, Iraq, who does all the metal covers. I just like instrumental metal.
I might have to introduce you to some of the albums by Therion.
But only of songs that I already know.
Well, see, that's not really going to help, but because it's much more like classical music with guitars and drums added.
Yeah, I liked when a guitar would show up sometimes with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I just don't like the...
Yeah,
it sounds like Cookie Monster. That's all I can think of. And so I imagine Cookie Monster with a Viking helmet on and...
Well, the Cookie Monster vocals are death metal.
I don't like
but with Therion, some of their early stuff was more like that, but for their midpoint, they were basically a metal band crossed with a very small orchestra with a bunch of different opera singers, and it was great.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I like Nightwish, but who doesn't really?
Therion from The Secret of the Runes and Vovin and Denegal completely destroys Nightwish.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry.
Has someone told the authorities?
You know what would have improved Nightwish?
What?
If just after Tarja left, there was this really, really, really amusing April Fool's Day story in an extreme metal magazine saying that the replacement for Tarja is going to be Sarah Brightman, the musical singer from England who's in her 50s.
I know who Sarah Brightman is.
I wasn't just talking to you, I'm talking to the audience as well.
Just what audience I knew who Sarah Brightman is? Are you impressed?
And the band are going to be renamed Brightwish.
Lol.
And it was little did they know that would have been a far better move for Nightwish than their replacement. And then I think they've had another replacement who also wasn't as good as Tarja.
I don't know. I discovered Nightwish from that one YTMND with Geordie LaForge jumping under the bulkhead right before it comes down. That one bit from Ghost Love Story. So I can't claim to have any actual knowledge of the band. I have a gig's worth of their stuff I got off iTunes. So
Ghost Love Story, that was from Century Child? I can't remember. I think most people tend to have got into Nightwish with Century Child, their 4th album, while I'm all I gotta get my hipster glasses ready. I preferred Nightwish. My favorite album of theirs is Oceanborn, followed by Wishmaster, their 2nd and 3rd albums. In fact, I felt that Century Child wasn't as good as earlier Nightwish, and it has been getting worse and worse ever since. In fact, I have a live DVD of pre-Century Child Nightwish, which is really good.
Wow, you're so hipster. I think you just turned the audience vegan.
Yes, now this is why I can quite happily state that Therion kicks the shit out of Nightwish.
All right. Well, so anyway.
Yeah, even Happy Viking doesn't try to out-metal me.
Spewing of metal blackness aside. It's time for, I'm sure, his favorite part of the show, Giovanni's Trivia Fact. And Giovanni, are you with us today?
Yeah, boss, I'm here.
Do you like metal bands?
No, I don't. But
there's a band with a dog for a singer.
That's just stupid. Only a man would come up with something like that.
Yes.
My favorite band, actually, and for those of you who get the in-joke, is actually the Rectal Eels, and they have done a metal crossover. So,
what about Hootie and the Blowfish?
Are you crazy?
Yes.
Okay, alright, so everyone in the 90s had craft beer review. I get that, I really do. But I'm just, I'm so over it. It's the 90s was a good time, but they're gone now.
Fair enough.
So, anyway, speaking of Oceanborn or Sea Child or whatever, I thought we'd have a grand old nautical trivia fact today. Did you know that seagulls can drink seawater? It's true. They actually have a special gland in their heads that they use to salinate the water. or unsalinated, or make it palatable, or something like that. But, seagulls.
Well, if you think about it, that's one of those things that when you hear the fact, it's like, that's really obvious, actually, because how else could they spend so much time at sea if they couldn't drink seawater?
You know who else drinks seawater? Crustaceans, like me. Do I get a trivia fact? No.
Well, that's because you're crap.
No, that's because I'm awesome. So anyway, my adoring crustacean-loving fans, I will see you all next time. I'm off to drink the fuck out of some seawater.
You know what I was thinking about the other day?
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of seawater and ocean life and things, so there's a trailer out for this new movie about Noah, like Noah from the Flood, with his face in it. And
allegedly that's post-apocalyptic rather than actually an adaptation of it's supposed to be set in the Bible. It's obviously based on the story. Well, it must be based, obviously, on the story of Zoothedra.
Well, so I was thinking about this. So you know how, like, he leads the animals 2 by 2 into the ark, and only, like, 1 male and 1 female from each of the species, you know?
Yeah, and the popular retelling, yeah.
Well, then how come all the sea animals got off scot-free? Because if mammals are innocent, they're blameless, they have no mortal souls, it's not their problem if man sins. So why were the land-dwelling mammals and birds punished, but the sea-dwelling mammals and fish and octopuses weren't?
I seem to recall reading something about that if it actually did happen, then a hell of a lot of sea life would be fucked, because you'd receive a lot of extra water in there, which would actually cause havoc with their ecosystems in the water.
Well, yeah, but they could, depending on like how, like what density they lived at, they could, like if you were a deep sea thing, like those coral worms that live in the deep sea, I don't think you'd be affected. I mean,
that's true.
The oxygen levels would change, obviously, and the salinity content of the water would change. And some other stuff would change, but, I mean, you would probably have some algal blooms. But for big animals, like whales, dolphins, the huge, monster colossal squid, and, most, small school fish, I don't see it being more than a temporary interruption of their habitat. Because nowhere did he say, and he took the octopus 2 by 2. Wouldn't it be great as octopus? It's like one of them has its tentacle and is holding Noah's hand, the other's like walking on its tentacle.
It would be very funny. Though I have 2 comments to make in my sort of officious, I am so much better than everyone else type voice.
It's time for atheism, fighting on the internet with your host, Diamanda Hotdog.
First fact.
Bing.
Now, if you're going to complain about the fact that God did not punish the sea life, then you must first think, why is it that you're complaining about? Why are you not complaining about the fact that God did punish the other life? Isn't that the bigger issue?
That's what I was thinking. It's like, what did the land mammals do that God is pissed off at them as with man? They have no immortal souls. They're not sentient. They can't decide to sin.
Well, then we get to the obvious sort of side thing that either God thinks they're full of shit, or doesn't care, or he's a bastard, or, or any all.
I figured it out. This is why dolphins are pricks. Because they think that they're the chosen people of the sea.
That would be a rather funny interpretation. But the other sort of thing I have to do, and, excuse me for a moment, I've got to get my glasses and put them to the bridge of my nose. And look down properly, even though I am on the internet. I'm just going to get my voice.
6'3", though. You look down on everybody.
Now, I wanted you to know that in the Bible it does not state that animals came 2 by 2, and that is just a popular retelling of it, which actually is not in the Bible. There were different amounts of animals taken depending on whether the animal was clean or unclean.
Yeah, that's true, because then you would have had unkosher animals unkoshering it up for everybody.
Yes, if I remember correctly, one of them had like 6, and the other one had like 3 or 4 or something like that, or maybe it was 2, but it was not all animals 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because cubits.
But earlier I commented about Zoothedra, and there is slight evidence to suggest that this Babylonian tale, or was it Assyrian? I can't remember. It was further into the Middle East than Israel. Was the inspiration for Noah, because
there are a lot of origin stories around the world that feature a great flood, either as a creative or destructive force.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the Zoothedra one, I believe the hypothesis goes that the Israelites picked it up when they were slaves in Babylon, because unlike the slavery in Egypt, the slavery in Babylon did happen. As in there's historical evidence for it.
But anyway, unnecessary segue aside.
I wanted to see an episode of Bone Kickers about Noah.
No, you don't, because they cock it up. And end up getting pissed.
That's one of the appealing things about Bone Kickers. Apart from everything else, it does wonders for my anger management course. Plus, it means blip revenue.
True. But it is now time for my favorite part of the show, which is One Time at the Store. Now, if you're just listening to us for the first time, if you've never heard the podcast before, I've worked for about a decade at a large chain bookstore, and I've pretty much seen it all. And sometimes it's adorable, like it is today.
She sells sex toys.
I do not sell sex toys. But
sorry, she gives them away.
So one of the cool things about being a bookseller is you're often doing your own thing, and people aren't paying attention to you. You're just part of the scenery. So you get to overhear a lot of really great stuff. And so we had a large book signing this past Wednesday that I was working. I was working on the upstairs level. And there were these two kids playing around the Doctor Who table. And we have this huge Doctor Who display table with these plushy Daleks, and they talk if you press their buttons. So the one little boy presses the button and says, "You will obey the Daleks." And the other little boy goes, "What's a Dalek?" "I don't know." And they press the button and it goes, "Exterminate!" And then I walked by, and I think they got spooked because I thought they weren't supposed to be playing with the toys, so they ran away. But as they were leaving, I heard the little boy go, "What's exterminate?" "I don't know."
How old are those kids?
Probably like 4 or 5. Not very old.
That's the right age to start watching Doctor Who. I mean, my earliest TV watching memory was Time and the Rani and being annoyed Colin Baker wasn't the Doctor anymore. Well, he was annoyed that the Doctor wasn't blonde, and that was, if I remember correctly, 1987. So that was 1986. So I was 3.
I was 6 then. Another good quote that I overheard on Wednesday was, "We have Elf on the Shelf," and I'm sure we've talked about Elf on the Shelf a few weeks ago. So go listen to that episode. And if you don't know what it is, Google it. So there's a little kid that was looking at the display, and the father's browsing in current affairs, and he goes, "I want to get this." And Dad looks at him and goes, "We have one of those at home." "Yeah, but that one doesn't hide itself. You have to do it. This one says on the box that it will." I was just like, "Aw."
So the kids worked out the Elf on the Shelf, the secret, but still believes in the magic.
Yeah, which I thought that, the one that we have at home must be broken, but this one will hide itself, which is actually kind of upsetting, supernaturally speaking.
It's a brilliant mixture of skepticism and gullibility all in one in that child. They'll go far.
It is. Oh, I hear great stuff like that. This is the last one because we have a pretty full docket for the show today. Was this little girl was sitting on the stage, because we have a little stage area, or at least we did in my old store, and was reading a weather book. And it was one of those big DK books with a lot of pictures of volcanoes, tornadoes, and hurricanes, and all this kind of stuff. Now, when I say reading, I say that in air quotes, because she was basically going page to page, just describing what she saw on the page and then turning the page. And it was and then there was the rain come, and then you're gonna get wet, and then if it comes up a blizzard, it will be snow. And it was really cute. And she gets to the last page, and she goes, "And then you fall in the volcano and get dead, and you're never yourself again. The end." And she closed the book. I'm like, wow, that's so poignant. You do fall in the volcano and get dead, and you are never yourself again. Wow. It's deep. I want that in a t-shirt.
She totally needs to watch Joe versus the volcano.
That's true. But, so, what is our big, huge, throbbing topic of discussion this week?
We're going to discuss, because, this show really could be subtitled Lesbians Talk About Doctor Who 85% of the time.
It really could.
The short that happened yesterday, by the time you listen to this, that'll probably be a day or two ago, Night of the Doctor.
Oh, and, by the way, if you haven't seen it, spoilers.
Spoilers.
You were warned.
Yes, you were. And also trigger warning, because I'm fairly sure I'll say something horrible.
Yeah. But you know what I was thinking? Is next week, because I'm going to run home and watch it on BBC America, we'll have to, have a huge spoiler alert, but after we both watch it, do you want to record next week at that time?
Oh, for the Adventure in Space and Time?
No, next week's the 23rd, after the Day of the Doctor.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you're right, next Saturday, yeah. Yeah, that would be good. I'm supposed to be doing a co-review on the Day of the Doctor as well.
Okay, well, that's one too. But, yeah, so, I I thought it was pretty brilliant, and I really liked it, and very few people seem to be unhappy with it.
I have issues, but then again, it is almost impossible for me not to have issues.
That's true. What were your issues?
Okay. Honestly, I was surprised about how happy I was to see McGann in the role. And it was nice to see McGann. It genuinely was.
On his birthday, too.
And his costume is much better than the Big Finish redesigned one. Much, much better. That was a good costume.
He kind of almost looks like a French Revolutionary kind of thing going on there with the cravat and everything.
Yeah, it's like Matt Smith's second costume. It's like we're getting a really good Doctor look sort of ruined by the fact that, they're using it for a short period and then we're going to have a different Doctor, so it's like we're not going to, like, Peter Capaldi's not going to be able to dress like Paul McGann appeared in this, even though this would be a good look for him. And it's like, it's a trifle disappointing, but my main issue was I did not want to see Paul McGann regenerate. I did not want to see that.
I thought that was good. I liked it.
Because with Paul McGann, with having never seen his regeneration, you could have him back as many times as you wanted without having to suspend your disbelief about his age. And that was a wonderful boon for the show. You wouldn't have to talk about the time differential or squint and pretend that Patrick Troughton's hair is not grey randomly or whatever. Tom Baker's not suddenly replaced by a human-sized blimp. It would have been really, really wonderful. You could have used him for multi-Doctor stories for the next 30 years, and then maybe made him regenerate when he's really old.
Because you don't know. It wasn't like 3 years before he regenerated that he's meeting up with Dr. So-and-so.
Oh, I know. You could have an adventure sort of set before that, but my point is, you don't need to ignore his age. If you don't see him regenerate, then you don't know what age he regenerated.
True.
So therefore, that's not an issue, and that was something I find quite nice about Paul McGann. And honestly, in my head canon, I had him surviving the Time War and basically becoming a hermit after that in my head canon, so I have to rearrange that.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really cool, and I know Nash pointed it out, and a lot of people picked up on it immediately, was that he, lists all his Big Finish. He lists all his Big Finish companions, and he's like, things and stuff, and so and so, and basically everybody was like, oh my God, did they just legitimize Big Finish? Is that now canon? Which really makes me happy because it sets precedent that means that all of the Sixth Doctor adventures that have happened on Big Finish are canon. They're real. They happened. All of his all the new companions that have been brought in for the audio, they're canon now.
Well, I thought it was really nice of them to do that for Big Finish. I thought it was really wonderful. Thank you, Stephen Moffat. Although I don't see it as canonizing it, because as far as I'm concerned, there is no canon to Doctor Who.
Yes, but that's your opinion.
Doctor Who's the only sci-fi show with a massive extended universe and stuff, which doesn't have any written rules for its canon.
Yeah,
it's not Star Trek.
Imagine being like, one of the writers who wrote, who introduced, that one companion. Like, wow, I was just writing, harmless stuff for the internet, or I just thought I was writing fanfic, but it's legitimate now. I mean, that must feel so good as a writer.
It's depending on how they view it, yeah, I can see why it would feel good, but I suppose in my view, it's not legitimized because they were already legitimate. It was already just as legitimate as anything on TV.
That's a good point.
So that's just my take on it.
But I thought it was really well done, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm getting where this is going. This is making sense. Introducing John Hurt as the War Doctor. Like the War Chief, but not quite.
His facial hair isn't quite as fascinating as the War Chief's.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get better facial hair.
There's also little niggles that Paul McGann's TARDIS on the exterior is clearly Matt Smith's TARDIS, because the Doctor Who fans realize this sort of thing, and other people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just a blue fucking box. And they're like, no! There has been several TARDISes used in the history of Doctor Who, and Paul McGann's one it's my personal TARDIS exterior. It's much bigger than the others. The shade of blue is darker. It's more chunky. it looks more imposing, and I love that one. For instance, the David Tennant TARDIS, stick that right beside the Matt Smith TARDIS, and it's very different looking. My own opinion on the TARDIS and the Doctor is that it's sort of, because the chameleon circuit is broken, it is locked on police box. However, it has inside that a myriad of different possible police box looks, and it's just very slowly cycling through them.
Yeah, someone said that they really wish that we got to see the interior of his TARDIS, but that probably would have cost too much.
Oh, it would have cost a lot. Although, if you look at the crash, the sort of the wreckage, whenever McGann was lying there, he's surrounded in girders and stuff, which look very similar to the way that the interior of bits of the interior of his TARDIS.
Well, that's cool. That was a cool little touch, if that's the case.
I don't think it's supposed to be the interior of his TARDIS, though, because that would suggest that the TARDIS got exploded completely, which would be ridiculous. So, but I think it was just a little reference put in there for people to notice. Although, I have to say, Paul McGann's Doctor in this, he went out like an idiot.
What?
He went out like an idiot.
No.
There he is trying to rescue someone. There they are, locking themselves inside the thing so he can't rescue them. He stands there and lets himself be in a spaceship crash. What he could have done is jumped into the TARDIS, and if he just jumped into the TARDIS, he would have survived. And B, he could have dematerialized the TARDIS and then materialized it around the woman inside the ship.
Yeah, but there might not have been time for that, or he might have been having issues.
He kind of has all the time in the world, seeing as it's a time machine.
Well, no, I mean, like, I don't know. There's probably a reason that it didn't happen that way, or because somebody mentioned that on the Reddit thread, or he didn't want to, because someone said, well, he decided to go into this awful quick, and someone was like, yeah, but if you've listened to all of his audio dramas, he's kind of on the edge anyway, because they have a lot of stuff building up to the Time War, but they never actually name it by name because, well, they can't. But so, I mean, think about this. This is the final straw. This young woman, full of potential, full of life, you're awfully young to be in charge of a gunship, chooses to sacrifice herself. She would rather die than accept his help. It could have been a little bit vaguely suicidal. I mean, he goes into this, I help people, but I have to be a warrior now and stuff like that. And this just could be the final straw. That could have been a sign to him that, wow, I'm not the dashing adventure, or I'm not the dashing hero to this person. I don't know. I saw it as more emotional.
It's, I will agree that it's more in character for McGann than other Doctors. Several other Doctors and the
first Doctor would be like, well, fuck you then. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and other, Sylvester McCoy would have already, worked out this was going to happen and came up with another plan to deal with it already. Colin Baker would have, yelled at the door till it fell over.
Or just muscled it down with his, shoulder or something.
Yeah, and Tom Baker would have been like,
I'm taller than all the other Doctors.
What the hell is a deadlock seal? This is ridiculous. And then, he would have pointed out that, the idea that there's a lock.
He would have, pushed a jelly baby under the door for her.
What I think I found hilarious is she said, this is deadlocked, and I really fucking hate deadlock seals, because they were created as a MacGuffin, basically to stop the Doctor from being able to get into any door he liked. Whenever they increased the power of the sonic screwdrivers to let him get into any door he liked, because they found it better for making the episodes quicker. And so they created a MacGuffin to make the show quicker, but then it was working too well, so they created another MacGuffin to stop it, and it's like, you fucking idiots.
So is that like the way you can keep out any Time Lord ever?
Yeah, it was invented basically as a plot device to so they could have drama involving a closed door, and it's like the classic series didn't need that shit.
So basically, all the Daleks would need is a whole bunch of deadlocked doors.
Yeah,
we have won the Time War,
and they
all we had to do was lock the door.
And they invented the idea that the sonic screwdriver can't do wood for the same reason. It's like, you fucking idiots, running yourselves into corners. But the fourth Doctor would have been like, a deadlock seal? That means I can't get through the lock. I have an idea. The sonic screwdriver, because it is now a magic wand, can cut right through metal.
What's the Harry Potter spell for opening locks? I don't know what it is, but it's something.
There's the other one thing you could have done. Jumped into the TARDIS, and then rematerialized it round the entire ship. because as long as he's got a space inside the TARDIS which is big enough to put it, then it's fine. It would look really weird from the outside, what with the thing going inside something that's smaller than it, but he could have done it. Other Doctors would have dealt with it, I think, in a bit more sensible a way.
Yeah. But it was still dramatic, and it was still affecting, too.
David Tennant would have screamed and cried and then yelled and then spent...
I don't want you to die.
No, I don't want to deal with the pain of having watched you die. I don't care about your death.
How could this happen to me?
John Smith would have been like, Sorry, no, John Pertwee would have... I don't know,
He would have, no, when she first started Resisted, he would have leapt through, he would have cold-cocked her, and he would have dragged her with him.
Yeah, these are much more sensible things to do, and it's
but we don't play this.
On the way back from Belfast a couple of days ago, I listened to Full Fathom 5, the Unbound. I'd listened to it years ago, but I found.
Oh, was that the one where they're underwater?
Yeah, and it's the evil.
I didn't like that one.
I loved that one because
evil.
That doctor. I'm like several times because I was like in the car with driving through, and several times I sort of turned to people and I was like, I like this doctor. I want this attitude generally to be put into the new show. This is good. This is like Sylvester McCoy with the volume turned up.
No, didn't like it.
I want Capaldi to be like that, completely pragmatic.
Well, he might be. You don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it, but I like that. That doctor would have been...
So, someone suggested that in the Brain of Mobius, it stated that the Doctor, there were other incarnations before the first Doctor. Or before William Hartnell, I'm sorry. And that, so someone's brought up a theory that Tom Baker was actually the 12th incarnation. And because he had the elixir of life at that point, that put him beyond the Time Lord's 13 regeneration, or 13 incarnation limit. And so someone pointed out, well, now this is the second time he's had the elixir of life, so this could be used as a really good way to say, oh, he can have as many regenerations as he wants. Because, so there. I think that's kind of cool.
I'm very doubtful that's what they're going to do.
You think so?
Yeah, because the Mobius Doctors, although intended in the story to be further earlier incarnations of the Doctor, the production staff were very open. That's what they were intended to be. However, since then they have not been treated as that. The general consensus is they were actually Morbius's previous incarnations. In the Five Doctors, the first Doctor clearly states that he was the original Doctor. He is the first He was the first incarnation.
Yeah, but the whole elixir of life thing could be used as an easy way out of that later on down the line.
Honestly, I think the thing more likely that what they're going to do is because Stephen Moffat has said that the hand incarnation of the 10th Doctor counts as a regeneration. So what with that and the John Hurt one, Matt Smith is the 11th, is the 13th incarnation of the character. That's what I think they're going to do. They're going to have Matt Smith in his last episode either find some way to extend it or just it happens and then that will be the mystery of the next season.
Well, yeah, because the Christmas special is called 12th Night, right?
Allegedly. I remember about early summer there was a rumor I read saying that this came out before Matt Smith was all talking about how he'd be back for season 8, because originally he said that. This rumor said Matt Smith is going to leave, and then the new Doctor is going to be brought in the episode called 12th Night in the Christmas special, and they've been proven right so far. We just don't know the name of the Christmas special.
Well, I'm excited, and we can watch it on Christmas because you'll be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for Capaldi. I am. Honestly, I am not very excited for Day of the Doctor. I'm much more interested in seeing an adventure in space and time.
Well, that airs tonight, does it not? Or tomorrow night?
Next couple of days, anyway.
I know it's airing on BBC America at some point this weekend, so I'll try to check that out.
I discovered yesterday that if the budget had stretched that far, there was really funky things Mark Gatiss wanted to do. He wanted to recreate all these iconic bits from episodes that were missing. Showing how they were filmed, just so we can get like we sort of have the parts then. Like one bit he wanted to do was the death of Sarah Kingdom in the Dalek Master Plan. Now Sarah Kingdom was this space secret agent and she was awesome and she kicked ass. She was the most kick-ass companion possibly ever. She wore a catsuit and she beat the shit out of people. She shot her own brother because she thought he was a traitor and stuff. And she got killed. She was introduced in like part 3 or 4 of the Dalek Master Plan, and she lasted until like near the end of the story. And she was aged to death. The Dalek's time destructor went off, and she was aged to death. And so they went old age makeup. As she was crawling, trying to get to the safety of the TARDIS. The Doctor was also crawling away, and he was affected as well. But then she turned into this old woman, and then she died, turned into a skeleton, and then dust. It's basically the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade done to a hero.
Wow.
And what they wanted to do, Mark Gatiss said he wanted to do, was recreate the filming of that, but have the old lady playing old lady Sarah Kingdom be Jean Marsh, who played Sarah Kingdom in the 60s.
Whoa.
How awesome would that have been?
That would have been pretty cool.
And Jean Marsh, you might have seen her in a couple of things. She was in Willow. She played the villain Queen Bab-Morvja.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she was in. She used to be married to John Pertwee, and she was the villain in Battlefield, which is the first story of the last season of Classic Who.
But as interesting as this is, and I would like to keep talking for like half an hour, it's dictionary time.
Oh dear.
Well, because we have a 5-minute long metal song in the middle of this, so.
Oh, Pippa is licking Mary's ears.
Aww. So I have the Oxford American Dictionary. What page should I turn to?
666.
Okay.
Dun dun dun.
It's also kind of hard to see because I've let the sun's gone down, so the lights aren't on. I'm seeing by the glow of the screen. Okay.
Actually, let's be obscure. 661.
Okay. All right, 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 7.
7.
Sprawl. To sit or lie or fall with arms or legs spread out loosely. To spread out in an irregular or straggling way. A sprawling attitude or movement or arrangement.
Oh, I get the feeling that we can use this to jump straight into Day of the Doctor. That was a sprawling mess of terribleness!
No, I don't think that it will be.
Well, I'm sure I can think of reasons to insult it and hate it.
Okay, so everybody, we're probably going to record our next episode right after viewing Day of the Doctor, so I'm going to tell you right now that the title for next week's episode is probably going to be Day of the Spoiler, with spoiler in caps. So you were warned. You were warned. But until next week, I have been the Omega, and who do you want to have been this week?
I am Iron Brew.
Iron Brew. Alright, that works for me.